first of all, I'd like to welcome everybody for joining us tonight for District 214's College and Career Ready Night. Our focus tonight will be on the culinary pathway. So we have a lot of people here tonight that I'd like to first introduce. The first is myself. I'm Dave Wiederzak, Division Head of Career and Tech Ed and PE here at Rolling Meadows High School. And on behalf of District 214, I'd like to welcome you here. Next, I'd like to introduce Charlie Brown. Charlie, if you wouldn't mind, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself? And first of all, thank you for being here tonight.
Great pleasure being here. My name is Charlie Brown. I'm the executive chef of the Moorings at Arlington Heights, which is a senior living community with approximately 500 residents in various stages of care, from independent to assisted living and et cetera. I've been a resident of this area for close to 25 years now. Originally from Florida, I traveled across the country, working in numerous restaurants and owning businesses and such, all in the restaurant business. So it's a pleasure being here.
Okay. Next up, Miss Larson.
Hi there. Yes, my name is Heather Larson. I am the president and CEO of Meet Chicago Northwest. We are the tourism bureau here in the Northwest suburbs. We represent 8 communities and work predominantly with their hotels. So we have 61 hotels, 700 restaurants, and a couple of dozen major attractions like Topgolf, Woodfield Mall, IKEA, stuff like that. We work to bring visitors into the community, mostly meetings and conventions and events, youth, amateur sports, all your travel softball tournaments at Olympic Park in Schaumburg. We bring those types of groups in and create economic impact. We actually work with the Illinois Office of Tourism. We are partially state funded, and we're also funded by our 8 member communities, including many of the D214 communities.
Perfect. Thank you for joining us tonight. Miss Krupicka from Rolling Meadows High School.
I thought you put Maggie first. So my name's Kimmy Krupicka. I teach the culinary arts program at Rolling Meadows. I've been there for 15 years. And really, we were one of the very first programs to even have a dual credit partnership with Harper or anything really. So it's kind of fun to see it grow into all of the career pathways that it has been now. And so really at Meadows, we have the Pro Start 1 and Pro Start 2 there, and we serve like over 1,000 people a year. I have my restaurant manager's license. My students, like Megan, that you'll hear from soon, has their food handler's license. And we just do different catering events to give the students many different types of experiences in the industry.
Thank you so much. Next up, Maggie from Buffalo Grove High School. Ms. Schwartz.
Hi, I'm Maggie Swartz. Pretty similar to Kimmy, Buffalo Grove High School. Oh, I'm one of the Pro Star teachers at Buffalo Grove High School. Pretty similar. We are one of the few schools that offer both Pro Start 1 and Pro Start 2. I've had the privilege of teaching both those classes the last 3 years. And same thing, our students have their e-food handler's license. We try to get them out into the community as often as possible, networking with restaurants, and anyone in the hospitality industry. So, yeah.
Thank you again for joining us. And last but not least, Megan Meyer, prospect student, but also comes over to Rolling Meadows for class. So I'm sorry about that. It's getting late in the day.
Yeah, I'm Megan Meyer. I go to Prospect, but I take Pro Start 1 at Rolling Meadows, and I'm a senior.
Thank you so much. Well, tonight, as you can learn, we're going to talk a lot about the culinary pathway at District 214. Regardless of what school you're at, we offer many of these classes. And if you don't have it at your school that you're going to attend, you can transport over to another school to participate in that. So what I'd like to do is bounce back to our presentation that involves so much more than just us telling you about the program, but also informing you about more of what our district is all about. And in this specific pathway, We're going to focus primarily on culinary arts tonight. But if you would like to or have the opportunity to go to our school district, we have a career pathway handbook, or you can also look up our academic handbook, and you'll find that this extensive guide that we've created over the last few years speaks to all of the different pathways from engineering to medical to aviation, one being the one we're talking about tonight, culinary arts. And in our district, we have a series of classes that we're going to talk about tonight, but more importantly, that you know where these resources are at. So on our online source on page 96, if you were to go there, you would find that as a parent or as a student, you might want to know what you can take from freshman year through senior year and after you graduate. And this guide provides you all that information so that you know how many years of English and math you need, what classes and what order you take them in. And this will help you when you meet with your counselor or when you talk with your parents about what you want to do. This book also talks about dual credit opportunities. And many of our classes in our district offer dual credits with not only our school, but one of 8 partners that we have at the university level. And we're going to talk a little bit about the importance of that, along with internships and apprenticeships tonight. But on this page that I'm showing you right now, you can learn all about the different courses that you need, and primarily look at how your day would look from a schedule standpoint, so that when you plan out your 4 years, you can see what things are going to be and what you're going to need to take for coursework. Again, that book can be found on our website, and it's at District 214 website. And this is the page that it shows where you can click and then access that to either download or to view online. So we'll have this available for you as well later. But if we can, because time is of the essence and there's a lot of great people here with good information, I'd like to start off with Mr. Brown and Miss Larson talking a little bit about the industry and why you would consider going into the culinary arts and tourism field. But I guess first, if you wouldn't mind, Miss Larson, can you talk a little bit about, what the industry looks like and what primarily your job looks like, and why the Chicagoland area is so good for tourism and the restaurant industry?
Well, Chicago invented the convention. McCormick Place is the largest convention in North America, convention center in North America. We have 45,000 hotel rooms in Chicago alone. In the northwest suburbs, we have 9,500 sleeping rooms in our hotels, just in the 8 communities that I represent. That doesn't include Rosemont and into the North Shore. So the hotel and restaurant industry is very, very strong in the northwest suburbs, as well as all of Chicagoland. And it's a great career. It's a very fun career. I started out as a small town girl. I grew up in Wisconsin, graduated from University of Wisconsin-Madison with a psychology degree. Didn't know what a career in the hotel industry would look like. Never even really considered it because it had never been introduced to me. And when I moved to Chicago, I just fell in love with the big old hotels in downtown Chicago, the Palmer House and the Drake. And I said, I want to work here. So I did not come in through culinary, although there are quite a few people. For example, our largest hotel that we represent, the Renaissance Schaumburg Convention Center Hotel, the general manager of that hotel came up through culinary with Marriott. He's from Germany, but he worked in South Africa and Puerto Rico and downtown and then out to Schaumburg. So a lot of people do enter this industry through culinary. I came in through sales at the hotel level, where I would basically be meeting with meeting planners and event producers and try to talk them into coming and staying at my hotel with their events. And that's how I started my career before coming to the convention bureau side or the tourism bureau side of it. Now I get to represent 61 hotels and all different restaurants. So I still get to eat very well. I don't do much of the cooking, but that's probably a good thing as well.
All right, thank you so much. Next, we're going to go over to Charlie Brown, which is an executive chef at the Moorings here, and really speaks to the industry of culinary. And if you could talk to us a little bit about your education and your work experience and how you made it to where you are, we'd appreciate it.
Well, I started just a few years ago. I'm a graduate of Johnson & Wales University in Providence, Rhode Island, way back when it was one little tiny building, and now the campus is massive. I really kind of worked my way around the country in a sense. I'm a native Floridian. I graduated from college and I went back to Florida and worked around there for a little while, and made my way to California, and that's really where the wheels were set in motion, where I really discovered really what true food could be in restaurant settings, freshness and farming, and knowing your farmers, knowing your growers and producers exclusively, that supplied the restaurants. And that is, I think, something that's incredibly vital to know to be successful. I eventually made my way to Chicago, and there's not very many better cities in the country for food than Chicago, from all around, from little neighborhood restaurants to the big Michelin 3-star Millennias and such. It's a rewarding business. It's very hard. I have worked. I'll be in the kitchen coming up here on 45 years, and to get to the point where I am now, it just took a ton of work and learning and understanding, and it never stops. So it's a continual learning process. So,
well, thank you for that information.
Sure.
I'd like to try and shift the focus now to our two teachers, Ms. Krupicka and Ms. Schwartz. And the reason I want to do that is a lot of our students and parents that are here tonight are wondering what's available for classes for students that want to learn more about the tourism and culinary industry when you go to high school. So I guess the first question, I'm going to call on you, Ms. Krupicka. Can you talk a little bit about the courses you teach and why and how they are a part of this pathway for culinary arts?
Sure. So we and actually the first slide I kind of could be changed a little bit to add the internship too. So you have 1 semester of intro to culinary that's required across the district. And many schools just have culinary, like Prospect really just has intro to culinary and a couple other ones. And that is just because they have residential kitchens, and then the Buffalo Grove and Rolling Meadows have a commercial space for that. And so that's why we teach the Pro Start classes, and that is not at all of the schools. So that's kind of the reason. And so then there's also an advanced culinary class that's also 1 semester that also focuses a lot on residential cooking. That is a really great class though. I mean, you make Cinnabon cinnamon rolls. There's you make your own pizza. They're doing that tomorrow morning, actually. Well, that's how culinary works in the school, is 8:30 a.m. and you're making pizza. But there's a lot of really fun projects and more meals and things like that. Then when you take the Pro Start program, it's just a shift of using what you learned in intro and advanced and now applying those things. So I kind of like to say that I'm their culinary coach. Like, I know that they have the skills, and I'm going to put my best players in the best spots, but they really are kind of they're performing on a different level. They have to do more critical thinking on their own, things like that. So we do make, they make chocolate chip cookies in the intro to culinary class. And then this week we're having our homecoming alumni dessert table. So today, just in the 2 hours, I think we made 190, almost 200 cookies today in just our class. So it's more of a production kind of a concept. And it's definitely something that I really do love teaching it. It's a good thing. But even if you don't, I have a lot of people that are not interested in the industry per se. But the nice part about culinary that I just want to say, as long as I'm still on the microphone, is that you can go to be a teacher, you can go off to be a lawyer, but while you're in school, you're going to have to kind of work. And the culinary world is such a great space for doing that as you go and do your career, because you can kind of like pick up shifts and drop shifts. And there's a lot of ways to socialize and meet other people in your community. So I really have always been in the culinary industry too. I worked at like a Dairy Queen when I was 15, and then Bennigan's for all of the older generation that went out of business. And I've worked at bars, and I was a golf cart beer girl, a whole bunch of different places, catering. So I did all of that before I became a teacher. And then when I became a teacher, I took over the Pro Start program, and now we still do a bunch of different things. It's just using it with teenagers instead, and they're different every single year.
Thank you, Ms. Krupicka.
Yeah.
Next for you, Ms. Schwartz. At Buffalo Grove, you guys within these programs had a lot of external experiences for students to participate in, such as apprenticeships and internships. Can you talk a little bit about that and why this program offers it, and why it's so unique?
Yeah. To Kimmy's point, like we have a lot of opportunities to cater events within the school, but what I think is for students to really learn the internship component is very helpful. They can actually get into a real restaurant, or I had a student last year who was doing a bakery internship. So she would work at a bakery every week. And as much as I would obviously love to be able to replicate that in class, I can't. We don't have the resources, the time. So having the internship opportunities allow them to actually experience real life restaurants. And whether, I mean, I think it's nice that student really enjoyed her bakery experience, but I also think she walked away knowing that's probably not the route she wants to go. And I like that, like opportunity for them as well. They get to see what they like, what they don't like, where they might see themselves in the future.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I can speak from personal experience. My daughter is a product of District 214. And when she was here, not that many years ago, she wanted to go into physical therapy. And as you just said, Ms. Schwartz, sometimes you think you want one thing when you're 16 and 17 or even older. And for her, physical therapy was good. She went to school, and partway through college, to her liking, she found, as Ms. Krupicka said, made some relationships with people and found the medical business side of it, and actually has done quite well. And through this learning, sometimes you like, or maybe just have a change of opportunity. So you're right. Internships and apprenticeships are amazing. And because what they can do for you is something that many districts just simply can't afford to do, and District 214 is invested in and has a great product for students that are here tonight. So thank you for sharing that. I do appreciate it. We're also fortunate to have Miss Roy here from Harper College here. And Miss Roy, if possible, I have a couple of questions about you, because for people that are new to the district, dual credit might be something they've never heard about. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about dual credit and the relationship we have with you, not only in culinary, but other programs throughout our district. You're muted. Not yet. You're still muted.
Here it is.
All right,
Okay.
there you go.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Jan Roy, and it's Dr. Roy, by the way, not Miss. Okay. And part of the program that we have at Harper, from Harper College, I'm the program coordinator. I've been there about 4 years, came in as an adjunct from Purdue. I worked at Purdue University for 15 years, and I retired when we had the pandemic. And Harper needed some people, mainly to teach online the hospitality program. So they tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Would you like to do it?" And I did it. So I've been there 4.5 years, but I recently became the coordinator in August. So it's brand new to me. But I'm absolutely familiar with both of the teachers that are on, that are in our dual credit program. And what that is that students have an opportunity to actually advance their high school learning skills by coming to Harper after they've completed the class. They teach the same courses that we teach, 109, 111, 110 at the high school level. It's the exact same course. So students already have the entry-level courses that they would take at Harper. So when they're ready to move on and graduate from high school, they can come to Harper and start at the second level. And so that's the good part about that partnership. And we have it with several of the districts in this area, Northwest community. So what we're doing right now is taking a look at the program and making sure that we can offer students in the community what they really want and need. And culinary is certainly our cornerstone curriculum, and we're upgrading it with some fresh new courses, and hopefully that will encourage more students to join, whether they're in this area or they're outside of our area. The 214 dual partnership is strong. I know that you send students. I have a couple of students in my classes now that went to Buffalo Grove and to Elk Grove, and it's another one, and Rolling Meadows. So that's what we're doing now. We're trying to increase the tourism piece of our curriculum, and we're bringing along some new courses in that next fall. So we will also have things for students who have a culinary degree can go work on a cruise ship. You can take your culinary skills and go to a casino and work there. You can take your culinary skills and go to a variety of our tourism attractions because everybody likes to eat. And you can take your culinary skills and work at a sporting arena. Sports arenas are big business, and people go there and they have restaurants. So it's always an opportunity in that particular segment of the industry.
Okay.
So if you're
Dr. Roy,
looking,
sorry about that. Dr. Roy, at Harper College, if a student was in their senior year and wanted to go to Harper College, what majors would they identify from the culinary arts if they wanted to enroll at your school?
okay, well, we have the absolute the applied science and culinary arts degree, and we have those are that's an associate degree, but we have four different certificates that if they don't want to do the complete 60 hours, they can do a 32-hour bread and pastry certificate. They can do a 24-hour, these are credit hours, a 24-hour hotel operations certificate. They can do a 24, I got it right here. I have to guess. Let me see what it is. There's a culinary arts certificate. It's 32 hours. And there is a bakery and pastry certificate. That's 26 hours. They have a hotel management certificate. That's 26 hours. And then the food service management certificate. So there are lots of things that they can do at Harper after they graduate from high school. If they want to go full time, that's the associate degree where they do the full program and you get an applied science degree in food service operations. So,
All right, perfect. Well, thank you for sharing that with us tonight. I guess the next part I'd like to transition to is Megan. Megan is a student from Prospect and also commutes over to Rolling Meadows. And I guess, Megan, if possible, could you share a little bit about your experience and what classes have been like and what they've meant to you?
Yeah, so I want to go into hospitality and tourism. So I'm taking Pro Start 1 at Rolling Meadows. And I feel like it was like really helpful for me because I did get my food handler's license, and it's teaching me how to like help cater for the public and cook for like large amounts of people. And I feel like I'm learning a lot. Like I feel like I'm learning about like hospitality and cooking in the same class.
And if you could, you had mentioned a little bit about some of the things you did within the classes. What are your post-secondary plans after you graduate? What do you want to do with some of this knowledge and in these courses that you've been in?
So my goal is to go to Harper, and I'm doing the Harper Promise program. And I want to go obviously into hospitality and tourism and do event planning.
oh,
So I want to get like at least my associate's degree and build on that.
And maybe end up in the Mecca land of Disney World. You
Yeah,
guys.
yes.
I want to work in Disney and get into the Disney college program.
Well, we do have our students do go through the Disney program. I have a student there now, and she's in the hotel side of Disney. But I love what you're saying about going into tourism. That's my background. I work for the Chicago Convention and Tourism Bureau, and which included McCormick Place and Navy Pier. And then I became a CMP and I worked as an event planner. So that was before I went back to school and got my doctorate. So that was my background coming through the hospitality system. And event planning is such a great field. It really is. It encompasses much more than people think. And so I'm excited to hear that you're coming to Harper because we'll be ready for you in the fall. I have event planning classes coming down the pike. So great to hear. Yeah,
Thank
great to hear.
All right. Well, thank you, Megan, for talking a little bit about this. I guess I'd like to come back to Charlie and also Heather to talk a little bit, Miss Larson, about things that you would advise now that you've had some experience and you've been in these careers for many years. What would you say to most of these high school students that are on the Zoom tonight? What would you recommend, and what best advice would you give?
Well, it sounds like Megan is well on her way. If you can get in with Disney, that is the best training there is. My director of sales, who's kind of in the twilight of her career now, spent many years with Disney and just had a blast and enjoyed it. The thing with this job is it can take a lot of different routes, tourism and the hospitality industry. If you're in culinary, or if you go into the sales and marketing as I did, it can go a lot of different ways. I would recommend, if you're in culinary and you want to stay in culinary, restaurant business is a tough business, but it is a business. So take some of those accounting classes, take some of those marketing classes. I believe you also have a career pathway for multimedia. And I know we're talking culinary today, but get your Adobe certificate, like learn how to put a brochure together so you can put a menu together and those kind of things. The more that you educate yourself. But I will tell you, this is one of the few careers where you can make a nice living. You can travel and see the world and eat a lot of amazing food and meet. I met Princess Diana. I met like all these amazing people. I've traveled the world with this career. And you don't necessarily need a 4-year degree. I'm not trying to talk anybody out of going to college, but with an associate's degree and some good customer service skills and a little bit of chutzpah, you can do really well with this career. It's been my entire adult life, and I love it. So get as much business knowledge as you can, even if you want to stick with cooking, because you're going to be sourcing, you're going to be purchasing food, you're gonna need to know the business end of it a little bit as well. And I guess that would be my primary recommendation as people are just getting themselves educated about the industry.
Yeah, I took a intro to business class at Prospect, and it was year round, and I learned different things. Like even made my own business plan, and I learned a lot of things that will help me even like in the future in college. So I think the business class was really helpful.
I'm gonna need your resume, I think, Megan.
I'll write the letter of recommendation.
And Mr. Brown, if you wouldn't mind sharing your thoughts on this.
Well, I think I couldn't agree more on the business side. And I couldn't agree more with the internship route. I mean, I'll give you an example. My son is at the University of South Carolina. He's in the sports management program. His internship, which will also be a class, he'll be working at the master's next whatever semester, spring semester. But he also has a finance minor. So understanding the business side of he's not in culinary, but understanding the business side of culinary is essential. They're some of the greatest chefs in the world can't balance a checkbook, and their businesses struggle and they struggle. So the business side is essential. It's a must. And then getting as much experience as you possibly can. Grasp the best chef that you can find. Stay by them. learn from them, apprentice with them, keep learning constantly. We have a dilemma in the industry, which is they call it the Food Network dilemma, where every young kid thinks that they're going to be a chef the minute they walk out of culinary school. And that could not be farther from the truth. It's worth understanding every single aspect of a kitchen and of a restaurant, from washing dishes and pots and pans to working the broiler and sauteing and putting out the most beautiful plates that you can. So you have to learn. You have to learn everything, and you have to be willing to work hard. And it's a constant learning process. Read everything you can. I still, to this day, I read, I watch, I do everything that I possibly can to continue to learn. I'm not stopping. Joël Robuchon, who's considered the best chef in the world, who's passed, but at one point in time in his career, he said, when I stop learning, I will retire. And he did. He retired. And then a group of his cooks, chefs, talked him out of retirement to come back and work with them and teach and continue to open restaurants. And he did that, and all top notch around the world, Michelin 3 stars. And from his learning came teaching, which also became learning again. So it's a constant learning situation and working hard.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
Sure.
that. Also, Ms. Krupicka and also Ms. Schwartz, any final words of wisdom or thoughts that you've heard or want to express before we come to the end here?
I just really appreciate everyone's feedback. And speaking of learning, like I've been teaching for 15 years and it was just very informational for me too. I definitely will pass some of those things to my students. And I also just want to say, just taking advantage of that now in high school, like I said, is pretty special. Just last Thursday, we had over 50 superintendents from, I don't know, Mr. Rizek, how many different states? There's over 40 people that were out of different states. So they came to our school, flew on their school's money to come and learn and see what we were doing. And a lot of that had to do with the career pathways. And as the culinary people, we made breakfast for them all and had that ready there for the hospitality table. But I think that I think it's not just a regular foods class. There's so many other opportunities, and just by you logging in to listen to us, already shows that you have some initiative, even a little bit. And I think that's exciting, and I wish you all the best. And you can definitely reach out to me. And I know Ms. Swartz says the same thing. If you're going to be a Buffalo Grove or Wheeling person, you would be going to her, and then I would have Elk Grove and Prospect people coming to me. So
Yeah.
it's good.
I think you're absolutely right, Ms. Krupicka. It's not just about cooking. Cooking is part of the class. It is. It's funnily in the name, but the planning and the business and the organization and working together and teamwork, those are skills that come out of it that were simply impressive last week, as you said, for a class to cook for that many and learn about how to do that and do it well. So I thank you for that. Ms. Schwartz.
Yeah, I mean, I'll echo what Ms. Krupicka said. I think these classes, and particularly ProStart, really gives you such a hands-on learning experience that's not just cooking, and it can help you in any route you go in life. Especially, I mean, we've said it a lot here, but like the business world, just these classes alone, I mean, there's a whole section of the ProStart curriculum that talks about the business side to having a restaurant. So even if you don't think you want to be a chef, there's still so many opportunities, and it looks great on a college application, and it's just a good story to tell too. And additionally, there's a lot of scholarship opportunities within these courses. And that's something to keep in mind as well.
Right. Well, we don't have a lot of time left, but what I would like to do is open up the chat box For people to ask questions, or if you'd like to unmute yourself, we'd like to encourage you to ask some questions of our panel, of our teachers, of our student, anyone here. So at this point, we'll just unmute for a second and see who has questions for you.
Isn't anybody going to ask what some of our students have gone off into? Because I'll talk about it. I have a bunch of alumni that I have. Two of them have owned their own food trucks and are living that life. I have a student that graduated a while ago. She's actually maybe 2011-ish. She works for the Ninja blender company. And so she works for just specifically the blender cookbooks. And she works with a team of like 4 or 5 people. They work from their house, they make up recipes, they rotate their recipes, they do the Instagram shots and like practice them, and then those get submitted into a cookbook, and she produces things like that. I've had a student that was literally 18 and a manager at McDonald's and is still there. I see them sometimes. And so there's a lot of different opportunities that I think it's cool for me as a teacher now at this point to see some turnaround. And there's another student that is working in hospitality in Lake Geneva. He is a second level manager right now. They have a position open for the next level up. And then instead of posting that job, they are waiting till May till he gets his degree and giving him that job. And his mom came to see me during open house. The little brother is a senior. And so she was going to say that she doesn't get to come and visit me anymore. But she came and updated me. So I think there's probably other cooler people, stories out there. They just don't keep me updated, which I wish they did. But it's definitely lots of cool success stories that I'm proud to brag about.
One question came through, and I think this one would be best for Ms. Larson or Mr. Brown. What's the likelihood of actually being a chef at any restaurant?
What's the likelihood?
What's the likelihood? Word for word. I just read it off the screen.
Well, that's kind of up to each individual and the talent that they possess and how they learn from who they come in contact with. I'll speak for myself. I moved to California when I was 22 years old. I was very disillusioned with the food side of the business. I moved to Napa Valley to try to learn how to be a winemaker. And I stumbled upon a restaurant that is still open to this very day, 40 years, called Mustard's Grill. And it opened my eyes. I cannot believe the things that I saw. But in turn, because I soaked everything in and worked hard, they recognized something in me, I guess. And I became the first chef of the restaurant after the executive chef pulled back to open other restaurants. So, it depends on the individual and how you work and how you absorb and show what you've absorbed from the people that you're around. So the likelihood is up to you. And just understand that, there are people that have been doing this for a long time, and they're not chefs, but they enjoy the life and they enjoy what they do. Because I got to tell you, it's a business where you get immediate satisfaction and immediate feedback. And hopefully that feedback's always positive, but it's a terrific thing. So I think it's just up to the individual.
There's certainly lots of opportunities. I mentioned there's 700 restaurants in my 8 communities that I represent alone. And that's everything from the McDonald's on up. So, I mean, if you use the word chef, that has a little bit of a different connotation than the line workers and whatnot, but that's where everybody starts. So you start, we've got a lot of chain restaurants. We've got Let Us Entertain You has a very rigorous onboarding process, or they used to at least.
They still do.
A lot of places are hiring. What's still pretty rigorous, yeah.
Yeah.
And you work every department and you learn everything about the restaurant industry at a company like that. So there's a lot of jobs out there to be had. Hospitality got hit pretty hard during COVID. So I think the likelihood is pretty good. I don't know all the logistics of it. Charlie could speak better about that, but I think you could make a pretty nice career out of it if you enjoy it.
All right. Thank you for answering that. Are there any questions?
Can I just let me just reach into one side. There are many pathways within the hospitality culinary side of the industry. There are incredible different, ways to go from, I can speak mostly on restaurants, but I've run hotels, and there's a pathway in hotels. I'm working in senior living now. There's a pathway into that. There are pathways that feed into different levels of the food business. And I think it's just discovering what pathway you want to be in, whether it's a restaurant or a cruise ship or a hotel or, for lack of better terms, amusement park, Disney kind of thing. There are many, many pathways. So it's discovering what that pathway is. I'm a restaurant guy, so, that's the route that I took, and I ended up in universities. And then I had my own business and consulting, and then I went to universities, and then I went to into senior living. So what colleges do you recommend for a culinary degree? Well, let's see. Locally, Harper does a great job. Kendall does a great job. We'll tell you the Culinary Institute, either in New York or in Napa, California, does a fantastic job. The one in California is stunning. And Johnson & Wales does a great job too, and there are other smaller. There's New England Institute of Culinary Arts. There's all kinds of different places, but locally, you have Harper and Kendall, and I think those are probably the two best.
Perfect. And any of our teachers, would you like to add where some of your students you hear go?
Well, I would just like to add a really great resource actually called the ProStart Passport. And so you just type it into Google and it'll be up there, and you can see the most updated. I think it's last year's 2022. But it literally, there's over 70 pages. So we are given dual credit through Harper. I'm a Harper teacher. I log in. So is Maggie. We log into Harper, put in our grades, whatever it is at our schools. Same thing, grades goes in over at Harper. But we're also articulated, which means that we could have that other schools, I think it's over 80 different culinary schools, say, okay, yes, you've passed the ProStart exams, you went through the program, you understand what's going on, then that will give you 3 credit hours. I think the most I've ever seen is 12, which is what Harper will do too if you do the internship. But ProStart Passport, I can put it in the comments too so everyone can see. But it's a great resource since you are getting the ProStart classes, because you will be in it, you could be articulated. I show it on the first or second day of school for everybody. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you. Ms. Schwartz?
Yeah, thanks to Kimmy. I actually show it too and explain it to the students. In regards to where some of my students have gone, I've had Kendall, and then Johnson & Wales is the other one. But I've only been doing ProStart for 3 years, so I don't have a ton of like school suggestions, but yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, any other questions? We're getting near the end here. Just wonder if there's any more questions. If you'd like to also unmute, we welcome that as well. But we'll take any more final questions here for you, if you have any.
Hello. I was interested in if any of you have any relations or have worked with the FDA, the food, obviously part of the FDA, because I think that's a big institution which covers food and everybody is involved from a restaurant, a hotel or anything. And so I'll be interested if anyone could say, what can the FDA offer in terms of career opportunities there?
Say
Does
that I
anyone
can
have-
answer that.
oh,
Yeah, I have no experience with it.
Yeah.
Well,
I know that
there's definitely, when you come with a FDA, it's like being like the food inspectors and things and putting out, it's more like the administration of all the restaurants, if that makes sense. And there definitely are, I'm sure, openings for all of their things. That they have I think in Itasca headquarters there, or an office there. And then I also talked to my students, it's kind of inappropriate, but it's about a blind date that I went on. And right away in the beginning, he was talking about how he was kind of like really proud about having road rage, so I was immediately like, okay, this is very weird that you talked about this within the first 15 minutes. And then I found out that he was actually an OSHA inspector. So we just spent the rest of the time, I was like asking him all these questions because I didn't really know that much. But he worked, I don't know, this is like way over a decade ago. But he works for Wrigley Gum. And so his daily job, he went and checked to make sure all of like the chemical, like the ingredients are held at the right temperature. And then something is like flammable in our gum that we're chewing. So if there gets to be too much, then he has to be reported to. And then he also reports back, I think, to a little bit of FDA, someone from FDA, maybe. It's OSHA's different, but I think that they also are kind of in the same category. So I would suggest looking into that as well. But I think it's super fascinating. And a lot of that comes through government things too, which is kind of definitely above my head, but that's what I can offer.
in Chicago, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I would say that the focus, if they're interested in the FDA, is going to have to be food science, and that's a whole nother ballgame. But food science also opens up an incredibly different pathway as far as companies like Wrigley or Kraft or so on and so forth. But recipe development and all that kind of stuff, Hamburger Helper wasn't made by somebody that was standing in a kitchen. It was a bunch of scientists in a laboratory at Kraft or wherever it was, Duncan Hines or whatever, coming up with these recipes. So that's a whole nother avenue that can be taken.
And there's a lot of, I was going to say the same thing. Food science is actually, Chicago is known for food science. We've got a lot of big food companies here. Obviously, this is where the food is grown in the Midwest. So you've got not only the crafts and Willy Wonka candy and some of the brands that you would recognize, Sara Lee and others, but you've also got like flavoring companies and these other kind of companies that you wouldn't even think about or know. Well, some of them are based in Elk Grove Village and in the area. So I know food science. I know there's classes at University of Illinois Champaign that gets you into the farmland and figuring it out and learning the chemistry of these things. I mean, all the way to the Monsantos of the world, which can sometimes be vilified as well. But that's a whole other career that's really fascinating. And I imagine taking this class leads you into that to a certain level.
Yeah. I mean, I worked a little bit with a company called Tone, and I think they're in Elmwood Park, to come up with they make Zing Zang. That's one of their big things. But to come up with a steak sauce, and it is remarkable how it works. Every flavor has a powder, and that's all comes from the science of the food. So you know.
All right. Any other questions for our panel this evening? Okay. Well, thank you everybody for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. Mr. Guy, thank you for setting this up and making this possible for all of us to do this. For people that are here tonight, our names were on this PowerPoint. If you have any questions or need any additional information, you can also reach out to us at any point. And we thank you again for joining us tonight to talk about our culinary arts pathway here at District 214. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you, panel, for joining
care.
us tonight.